Welcome back, everybody. Today I want to talk about setting tournament defenses, and it's going to be a relatively long video, so let's jump right in. I'm not going to pretend that I get this right all the time, but I'd say more often than not, I set defenses that get A grades in tournaments. So I think I have a few insights and a couple of tips that will apply to both regular defense and some specific ones for tournament. So, why don't I just talk through my thought process for setting defenses? So for this one, I decided it wasn't worth 75 gems to pay to continue yesterday just because I was having a busy week. And I was feeling a little sad because one of my battles I lost because the game crashed. That's okay though. My defense is doing really well, better than I even expected. I've been attacked 16 times and I've only lost 2 of those attacks for 87% win rate. So first thing I'd say is that when you're setting a defense is to know the rules. So very obvious, but I've seen so many defenses where for Bloody Battle they set a defense with like 3 or 4 healers. So if you are really not sure, just click on it and you can see, and then you can also see if there's any element restrictions. So that being said, knowing the element restriction and the rule, it's always more ideal to try to set a tank of the color where if there's an element restriction, they can't take the strong color against the tank. So I just want to talk a little bit about game mechanics. So the way it's set up is that there's 3 columns that will hit the tank, and only one that will hit the flanks when the tank is there, and only 1 column that can hit the wings. So when your heroes are on defense, they charge a little differently than offense. It's not quite the same, like counting tiles, but they get mana every turn and they're also charged up by tiles. So because they're charged up by tiles, the tank almost always takes most of the tiles, and usually they get charged up the fastest. So that's why even slow heroes, if they're the tank, they have a very good chance of going off. So you need to think about mana speeds and also what order you want specials to go off. So usually the tank will go off first, just because they're hit by the most tiles. And then followed by the flanks and the wings. Of course, you have to adjust this based on mana speeds. So because Tell is average speed, she might actually, charge closer to when Scarlet and June are charged up versus Clarissa is definitely going to fight, well, not definitely, but most likely going to, be charged up earlier than Tell, even though they're both in the same position. So then knowing that, you should also know that if you have 2 hero specials that happen to charge at the same time, the computer will usually fire them, they'll always fire it from left to right. So say Scarlet and June both charged up at the same time. So because Scarlet's on the left in my defense, she's going to fire before June. So knowing that, I like to set it up usually such that heroes that, hit more than one will hit before the single hit snipers, because that way if there's another hero that's kind of low health, the heroes that hit all or hit more than one are likely to take them out so that the computer doesn't waste the snipe on someone who was about to die from a slash attack next turn anyway. So looking at my defense, Elena's most likely going to fire first if she doesn't get killed by tiles, and it's much harder to kill the tank with tiles when you cannot bring the strong color against tank, because the strong color does more than double damage. If, say, they can still, try to stack, say, mono red, even mono green if, say, they have Evelyn or something, or mono purple, mono yellow, but mono is kind of risky. If you don't get the tiles you need right away, Elena's going to go off, and good luck recovering from that 5 turns of counterattack plus the damage for a battle where you cannot heal. So something else you should think about is how you might attack your own defense. So looking at my defense, a few different ways to attack it for this one might be to bring Mist to try to prevent buffs in the first place, And another way would be to bring someone like Cade or Evelyn, but they're both green, so most people probably would try to steer away from stacking green against red. You could also bring someone like Domitia or Sabina, but she's a healer, so it's kind of a wasted slot. You could bring Kage, Sishat, Panther, but those are all pretty not accessible heroes. Something else to know for tournaments is that the tournament will kind of look at all the strongest heroes in your roster that could possibly qualify for the tournament. So even if I didn't put like Tuluria and Elena in, the computer algorithm is still going to kind of know which ones are the strongest based on power, essentially. And the opponents that'll be matched up to me will be matched up based on the power in their roster. So it's still going to be kind of stronger opponents attacking. So that's also important to know. And that being said, in general, it's better to have a more well-rounded roster where you have, a good depth of heroes to choose from. They're all kind of relatively similar in strength versus a hero that's or a roster that's very pointy, where you have like maybe one team that's super emblemed, but everyone else is much weaker. So that's something I actually found for 3-star tournaments, is that after I reset my 3 stars, I reset everyone except Nordry. I actually did better in the 3-star tournament because I had basically more options for defense, because if I didn't, put my most highly emblemed on defense, I wouldn't do well because I always got matched up with stronger opponents. But if I did put them in, they didn't make sense for the tournament rules, so I also didn't do well. So I just decided, you know what, no more really embleming 3 stars, and it worked pretty well for me for this last one. Got an A, and I still made it to the last day, or I think without paying to continue, I made it to the very last battle. I lost the second to last one or something. So in general, for 4 stars, I have a lot they're emblemed, so that's fine, but it's almost better to just not emblem any at all versus just having 1 or 2 with 20 nodes, just from personal experience. So that was a relatively long video, but hopefully you got some helpful tips. Thanks for watching.